Hello, boys and girls and children of all ages. Um, this is on holidays. First of all, I want to start off by saying, because I'm going to introduce this video on the topic of Thanksgiving, I am part Indian. I have several Indian um, ancestors on each side of my family, so I probably have about 5 or 6, you know, family Indians. As late as the 20th century, or maybe even mid 20th century. So not got anything against Indians. I have Indian grandparents, Indian, all kinds of Indians. That's not the point. Um, the topic I'm making, and I agree with the Indians that Thanksgiving, in part, not completely, but in part, was created. It was sort of a blood festival. It was to celebrate the massacre of the natives, driving them out of their land. Um, and it was basically the murder, execution, and this, mistreatment of the natives, the stealing of their land, the stealing of their resources, the stealing of everything. And now you have, for example, peyote, which is a drug that they smoke, in the practicing of the religious rituals. Um, will we're now trying to stop them from doing that. After all that we've done to the Native Americans, or at least all that America has done to the Native Americans, you'd think, in the words of Bill Hicks, they should be able to shoot heroin into their cock if that's what they want to do in the middle of New York. Oh, you're shooting heroin? Oh, you're Indian. I'm sorry, we fucked you enough. Go right ahead. But not in America, no. In America, now they're trying to invade Indian sanctuaries, Indian reservations. Part of that is they try to militarize and turn Indians against poor white people in the way that they did the blacks. And the Indians weren't buying the shit. They asked Indians, what did you think about various football, baseball, basketball teams that were named after Indians? And the Indians all responded, they didn't give a shit. It was fine with them. So they're like, oh, well, we can have this. This is an offense. So now they're turning on the Indians, and they're even trying to use bullshit claims of pedophilia and rape and everything else, which is probably made up, to go in there and to impose a rule, because they cannot have these separate groups of people, these different separate governances, these separate governments ruling themselves and living freely, is because the system of tribes in this country, essentially, they're individual governments. They decide over the basic needs of their own people, and they rule themselves, and now they're trying to send the government in there, and they're using the excuse of pedophilia. They're trying to say Indians are pedophiles. After all we've done to these people, now we're spreading this kind of fucking vile propaganda and hatred. So it's unreal. But back to the point. Back to what I was trying to say. The Indians, I sympathize, agree with, and support their causes greatly. I think we have been outrageously horrible to those people. But I don't think we should bring Thanksgiving. I think Thanksgiving is a day of quiet reverence. This is the Amazing Atheist Awards. These are similar to the Amazing Atheist Awards. It's a day of quiet reverence where you get together with your friends and family and you think about and meditate, or whatever other word, over all the things that you have to be thankful for. That's Thanksgiving. If you want to know the true American marker on this land, it's the day after Thanksgiving. It's Black Friday, because that's the day where people from all walks of life say to hell with Thanksgiving, and they go to the mall and they fight for hours, kill each other and everything else to get some cheap shit even cheaper. And then they don't like it when they buy it anyways. Not too bright. But I agree with Thanksgiving, and this is basically a video on holidays. Back to Christmas. Some atheists don't want to celebrate Christmas. There's even atheists staying out of school shouldn't take time out for Christmas. Oh, it should just be called the holiday season. Well, I think Xmas is a good name, but there's other names. The winter solstice is basically a Yule, and it was a pagan holiday. And people ask, atheists and Christians mainly ask, how can someone like me, who basically identifies as an atheist, even though I'm really a Satanist, I just don't feel like going into detail, why would an atheist like me celebrate fucking Christmas? Well, it's because I did what you did. I stole Christmas, just like the Christians stole Christmas from the pagans. It was a holiday thousands of years before the Christians. It was called Yule. It was called, what did the, Saturnalia by the Romans. It was celebrated in the name of Mithra. It was celebrated in all kinds of fucking places. My ancestors, the Irish, celebrated it hundreds and thousands of years before fucking there was ever a guy named Jesus, if he even existed. So I have every right to celebrate. And if you're an atheist and you're saying, oh, we shouldn't have Christmas, you're a fucking idiot. You know, you don't want to celebrate Christmas, don't celebrate it. But don't blame people like me, because you're just as bad as the fucking Christians who try to fucking outlaw Halloween. And Alex Jones, who I like, but think is a fucking idiot about some things, he said that the holiday celebration of Halloween is in the memorial of human sacrifices and paying reverence to the fucking high priest and all this bullshit. You know, and you would hang jack-o'-lanterns outside your fucking door to say that you were on board with it. Well, that's a fucking complete load of shit. That's not true in any way, shape, or form at all. If you if you look back in history, that is just not fucking true. The Irish were, and the English, the Irish, the pre-Anglo England, what's called Britannia, and the Irish, the Celtic people. They were a very upright and upstanding people who did not have slavery. They abolished slavery before any other country almost in the world did. Before the Romans, for example, had slaves all over the world. They had slaves from Germany and all over the world, and even their own people, and they treated their own people like shit. But if you watch movies such as, for example, what's that guy's name? Mel Brooks' History of the World, he portrays most of the slaves as being black. Well, this is not true at all. The majority of the slaves were white. They were German people. That's why when the Germans invaded Rome, the German slaves rose up in mass and slaughtered their Roman slaveholders. You know, and they enslaved a lot of Celtic people as well. But the history of this Celtic, after their continuous wars with them, before they finally expelled us from Britannia and we went to Ireland, the history of the Celtic people has no slavery in it. And that goes into Easter, Beltane, the spring equinox. It's both, in a way, both Yule and the spring equinox has to do with the celebration of a certain time of year, in the celebration of the sun going through its yearly cycle in the equinox and reaching certain core points, basically finishing its journey across the world, across the calendar, whatever. And that's what we celebrate. So my opinion on Thanksgiving is, if you don't like it, celebrate it in your own way. If you're an Indian, burn a fucking pilgrim. You know, I don't like the fucking Indian pilgrims. It's not even because of what they did to the Indians. I just don't like fucking pilgrims. So yeah, I mean, you know, that kind of thing. So, you know, that's all I have to say. P666.